Hello, everybody. I am Julie Altemus coming to you live with Real Producers Magazine at Studio USA West in Colleyville. And I am so excited to have my two guests on here today to talk to us about all things real estate and maybe a few little other things on the side. We've got Travis Hitt joining us today and Ken Callahan. Welcome.
Thank you
so
Thanks
much
for having
coming
us.
out with us
Thank
today
you for having us.
and being on the show. So, I would love it if you two would take turns and tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Travis
Age first, guy.
age first. So my name's Ken Callahan. I'm business development with Republic Title Frisco. And so what do? I find
You manage
wonderful
Travis.
agents. Yeah, right. Find wonderful agents we're partners, business partners, right? So that's kind of what I do. It's all relationship based. So I've been with Republic for it'll be 6 years, August 1st. And I've been in the real estate industry for 24 years. So first is new home sales, licensed realtor, which I'm still carrying my license active. And then I was in REO for a while and now in title. So
it's a journey, my friend.
That is
a journey. So you said 24 years. I won't make you do the math out loud, for everybody else. But did you come right out of college or right out of high school, whatever, and get into the real estate industry? Or did you start off thinking that you wanted to do something else?
Well, I had a career in retail for 20 years. So I was a store manager. I was a visual director for a couple companies out of Chicago, which brought me to Dallas in 91. So I had 20 years. So now do the math.
Well, I'm thinking you shouldn't be breathing right now.
Yeah. Well, I was fourth grade when I first started. So I had 20 years in retail and then went into new home sales. And then that led me into getting a license. So, yeah.
Well, what made you transition out of retail?
It was retail.
Yeah.
Which retail is a great ground for so many other careers because, you work with people, right? And all types of people, and you learn how to navigate people and personalities. And so it was a great learning experience for me. I'm kind of social, so it
kind of.
Yeah. I mean, so it lent itself to that, as does my job now.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I've actually interviewed a few people that have come out of the retail industry and they were working for companies like Neiman Marcus and some of those others, whether they were doing Nike was another one and some of those bigger brands, whether they were doing purchasing orders or holding their PR or marketing or advertising or even working on the floor, like you said, face-to-face customer relations. And they've excelled in real estate. So I absolutely see how there's parallels there. So Travis, how about you? Introduce yourself, please, and tell everybody a little bit about you.
Thanks for having me. I'm Travis Hitt, and I've been in real estate for going on 13 years now. I'm with Bray Real Estate Group, and I run a team for the Hitt Group of 6 agents now. But I've been doing it a while. He's one of the best partners I could have asked to have, him and his team, even wearing the shirt today. But I got into real estate right out of the military. I did high school and then straight into the military, and then straight from there, basically, into real estate, and have been doing it ever since. Started a team about 2.5 years ago, and we have 6 phenomenal agents with me now, and we service all over.
Well, I was going to jump right into the whole real estate thing, but I think I want to back up a little bit, and I want to talk about your time serving in military. And first of all, thank you
Absolutely, I'm honored.
For saying yes to the call. Yeah. We have military in our family as well, and one son that's currently serving. And so I just want you all to know how much we love you and appreciate you and support you all for the time that you served. But
it's always nice to hear.
Yes, because not everybody says that, and we have to know that our freedoms are here because of you and because of people like you. So thank you. So with that being said, when you get out of high school, what made you go into the military, and then what branch did you serve?
Yeah, so I was in the Army. High school wasn't my best years. I enjoyed it, had a lot of fun, but I was the kid that didn't really focus on school. Nobody's fault but mine. I was just having a good time and enjoyed sports and parties and having fun, and I didn't really know what I wanted to fully do with my life. And it just came to the realization that both my grandpas were lifers. My dad was in the Army. One grandpa was Army, one was Navy. Dad was Army, brother was Army. And since I didn't really know what I wanted to do fully, I knew I always wanted to serve. I didn't know what capacity I wanted it. I knew I didn't want to serve for my full career, but I wanted to serve. So I didn't really have anything going career-wise, so it was a perfect time for me to go ahead and sign up. And so I did that, ended up joining a special operations division and served 5 years, and then got out and went directly into real estate after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was one of the takeaways from your military experience that has stayed with you throughout your life?
Really discipline and respect, because the military is one of those careers that it's not the hardest job to get promoted in certain aspects. You just have to do the right things, and over time you'll get promoted. But a lot of times people that get promoted above you are not the person you want getting promoted above you or leading you, but you still have to respect them because there's a goal to get done. There's a task to get done. You need to respect that. So I've learned over my years, no matter who's in that position, you still need to have respect because they were put in that position for a reason. Mm-hmm. So discipline and respect were two big things that I took away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. So now when you're coming out of the military, what in the world made you decide, hey, I'm gonna go into real estate?
So I actually thought it wasn't a for sure thing, but I was thinking my senior year of high school is when real estate kind of got brought onto my radar. I had a mentor in high school. It was one of my best friend's dads. He was always present with us. He had a really nice lake house, had a really nice house in Allen where I lived, and he was always around. And he was a pilot in the Navy. And I called him Big Guy, and I said, Big Guy, what do you do for work? Because my dad was a horseshoer and a blacksmith, and financially didn't make much money ever. So I knew I had bigger aspirations financially, but my dad was really present and happy. And my stepfather that I had a great relationship with, he was not as present very much, but he made exponentially a lot more than my father. So I knew I wanted to be as happy as my father, but make 3 times what my stepfather did. But I wanted to be present for my family as well. And so I asked Big Guy, my mentor, what he did. He said, I'm a real estate broker. And I go, I don't really know what that is because there wasn't many shows around at that time, $1 million listing and all of that. And I go, well, that's what I want to do one day. And so when I was in the Army, I was going to college in the Army, but I traveled a lot to different bases, and I always had to start over with school. They wouldn't transfer to whatever college was on that base. So the third time I had to start over, I said, I'm done with this, and I'm just going to start working on my real estate license. Mm-hmm. So the day I got out is when I went and did my real estate license and got that and started in that.
And you jumped in, and that was 13 years ago?
It was. Almost this December will be 13 years.
So I want to ask both of you are very successful in what you do. You build strong relationships like the one, you're sitting right next to each other for a reason, right? Buds. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that and strong partnerships and strong relationships, and how has that helped you be successful in the phase that you are in this business right now? Because we all know sitting here that real estate, not necessarily the field that you're in, but in real estate sales, there's a very high percentage of people that fail in the industry.
Yeah.
And very few of them make it to the type of level where you are. And obviously, Ken has done a fantastic job in the role that he plays, building relationships with people, or he wouldn't be sitting here with you. And so it just makes this nice, cohesive relationships and things that help one another in our businesses strategically. So can you just share a little bit about what it is that you did and have done in your career that have gotten you to the place where you are today? Why have you been able to define success at this level right now?
Absolutely. I think for me, it did take a couple of years. I tell a lot of my agents that come on with me is that I was not perfect in the beginning. I failed a lot. And that's one reason I wanted to create a team, is to help other people not take the same steps that I took. And one of those was not creating relationships because I thought I could do it on my own. Once I realized real estate was a passion of mine, I quickly had to realize that I needed help and to ask for help. And so partnering, Ken's a perfect example with Ken and Drew and Oliver Republic Title. I never knew or imagined how much having a great relationship with a title company, and this is not a paid sponsorship from the title company, but I never knew how much they would truly help my business because they are truly a direct partner and vendor of my business that keeps me on track, keeps me in line, helps me answer questions that I don't know because I don't know a bunch of the title stuff. So really being able to get over myself that maybe I was in special operations, I was in the Army, I could do everything, I'm a man, a go-getter. I still don't know it all. And so by building great relationships around me and my business didn't just help me, it helped everything with all my clientele, with the structure of my business, I was not raised in a household that finances were a big talk. And so as I started making more money, I blew a lot of money, and I got into massive IRS debt initially because I thought I could do it on my own. So through little things of being more successful, I realized I can't do it on my own. And I had to learn how to bring people in that I trusted that could help me be better at the things I was not great at. And so by doing that, it just made everything more seamless because I focus on what I'm good at and what I enjoy doing rather than spending time on the things that I don't really enjoy, like title work. It's not my forte. I don't wake up and get excited about that, but other people do. And so by partnering with people and having relationships that can help me grow without me taking a lot of time to figure those things out, to me, it's a no-brainer at this point. But I understand it takes people like me time to learn of how much of a necessity and how important that is to partner with people that can help you and want to help you is a difference as well.
And I love that because of what you learned, you're now turning around and you're starting a team. There's a painting that I see often. It's probably a spiritual painting, not a business painting, but I love the story in just what you see, the visual.
Okay.
And it's one arm latching onto another arm, pulling somebody out of the water.
Right.
And I love that. Every time I see that painting, of course, it immediately takes my mind somewhere else, to a more religious and spiritual experience. But you're doing that exact same thing now by starting a team, realizing what you learned, maybe where your failures were, where your challenges are and were, and now helping other people get there a lot faster, a lot easier.
That's truly why I wanted to start a team, is I didn't want guys to go through it and not have that help that I didn't really have. So it makes business more fun. I mean, nobody wants to fail in the business that they're doing.
Sure.
So if I can help be a ladder to somebody else to where they're not having to slip and slide down constantly and they can continue to go up, that just makes me happy as well.
So Ken, I'm going to turn this over to you now. I want you to talk to me about what is it that you think you did right, that you made it to the success level where you are today, and talk to me a little bit about that experience and what you think that is.
That's a great question. Travis and I were just talking earlier when he got here about, it's great to work with people you want to work with. So I've always been, real estate comes in two forms. Like you can be transactional or you can be relationship driven. And you and I have had this conversation on occasion. So I love the partnership. I love people. I love I love helping people. And that's and I think being your authentic self.
I like that.
Not trying to put on, not trying to be, if you know me, I tend to be inappropriate at times with my humor. I say it's like a form of Tourette's. I can't help myself. But I like to keep it light. There's so much heaviness in the world. There's so many miserable people in the world. Why not just try to bring some light to people? Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I do in my everyday is I want to build a relationship. I want to get to know you. I'm naturally curious. So I want to know your story. I embarrass my wife because when I was a retail manager, when I would interview people, I would ask them questions until they stopped answering, because that's the way you get the most out of people. And we would be in a store. Pam and I would be in a store, and she would call it interviewing the clerk. Well, how long have you been here? What made you come here? Where are you from? And I'm just naturally curious about people. I love people's stories, and I think the more you talk to somebody, then you find that intersection of like, oh, you're from Illinois. I'm from Illinois. I have an agent that I work with, and we were talking about that, and she goes, I'm from Illinois. I go, I'm from Illinois. I said Chicago because I grew up 60 miles southwest of Chicago as a reference point, and she goes, oh, I'm from Chicago. And I go, where are you from? And she goes, South Side. And I said, where'd you go to high school? And she goes, Mother McCauley. And I go, my sister-in-law went to Mother McCauley. She goes, what's your name? And I told her, and they were a year apart in high school. So the more that you just talk to people, I think they tend to just put their guard down. Do you know what I mean? Because we're, I don't know.
It's connection.
It's about connection. It's Travis was one of the first agents when I started with, and I remember the day I met you in Drew's office, and he was one of the first agents I met when I started working with Republic Title, and I just left him. Travis has this ability to, like, when he's talking to you, you're the most important person in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like,
this is a paid partnership.
No. I mean, this is no, but this is yeah. No, but it's true, and I felt like we connected from the very beginning, and so I love that, and I have a lot of, I'm of a certain age, no big surprise. I'll be 62 in October, but I have a lot of young men like Travis that are my real estate sons, kind of. Do you know what I mean? And since I've been in the industry for a long time,
You call him dad.
yeah, they call me dad, and
Hey, Dad.
yeah. So I try to share advice. I have some that just call because they need encouragement. It doesn't have anything to do with real estate or a transaction, that they just, try to be a soft place to fall
Sure.
for people.
People want to be, at the end of the day, people want to be loved. They want to be
Yeah.
heard. They want
Appreciate
to be
it.
seen.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about just talking to random people in the store. And I do that too. I love waiters. I mean, I consider them my prey, because when they come over and they open their mouth, I ask them generally somewhere in the conversation, especially if they have an accent, where are you from?
Yeah.
How did you get here? And then I find out, they're trying to go to school, or they're trying to achieve this dream or that dream or whatever. And then we leave with a big fat tip and just walk out the door.
Yeah.
I love hearing people's stories and then just blessing them where they are.
And in that moment, give them a word of encouragement.
Yes.
I was at Home Depot in Prosper a couple of weeks ago, and the young lady helping me, she apologized for her English. And I said, where are you from? She goes, I'm from the Ukraine, and I've only been here a short time. And, just in our conversation, I said, you're doing great.
Yes.
Like, you're acclimating, you're doing great. I'm glad you're here. Do you know what I mean? There's so much. I believe in, like, just giving people a smile when you see them across the parking lot. Do you know what I mean? Kind word goes a long ways, because you don't know the last time somebody heard a kind word.
I think we all have that in common. And if anybody watching, or if y'all want to make a dinner very awkward from the get-go, my wife hates when I do this, but every waiter or waitress comes up and they introduce themselves, right? I'll be serving you tonight. My name's so-and-so. We'll just stop and ask them, or tell them your names.
Yeah.
Because I always say, well, my name's Travis, and this is my wife, Kim. And some waiters are very appreciative, and some are like,
Oh,
Okay, that just got weird.
because every waiter and waitress introduces themselves to us, but they never know who they're serving. So I always stop and introduce us to them. And sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it does get very awkward. But I feel like you should. I mean, anybody that's serving me, I want to serve them.
I think it's the same way when you go through a checkout line. What irritates me is when the person in front of me is on the cell phone talking and does not break that to acknowledge the person. And I always apologize to the person behind the counter for that person. I go, I'm so sorry. That must be uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? So anyway,
well, I love
you
what
do what
said.
you can.
I love what you said too about when they come to the table. I've never done that one about introducing myself. Maybe I'll try that in the future. But when they do share personal information with you sometimes, man, I don't know. We're just having a bad day. Like, we are understaffed, and obviously it's really busy in here and whatever. Sometimes they'll just give you little clues about their story and their life and what's going on. And I've asked people before, would it be okay if we pray for you? You would not believe people's reactions. And they go, I guess it would be okay. And if they have a hat on, they take their hat off. I've had waiters kneel beside the table before.
That's great.
And then they stand up and they're crying. And I'm like, this is amazing. Not that I made somebody cry, but that they felt loved and heard.
Yeah, well, that's
and all those things. Yeah.
That's what we're here as. I mean, we're all three believers, right?
Yes.
So that's what we're here to do.
So, all right, with this being said, okay, I know how busy you are. I know what it takes to be an outstanding real estate agent, and how it's really 24/7, and you have to be intentional for it not to be 24/7. And the same thing for you, Ken. So I want to know, having the kind of busy lives that you have, how do you intentionally take time for yourself and recharge your own batteries?
Yeah, great question. And you said something that made me think, because I've definitely been the guy in 7-Eleven that's talking to a client and checking out. And so I'll be more intentional about that. It's not easy, right? And it's something that I feel like I have to recalibrate often. because no matter what, I can set a plan in place. But then depending on the market, like 2023 was a rough year. 2024 is starting to get a little better. But a lot of times it's very easy for me as a go-getter to get into work mode to try to make sure my family is good. A lot of times that will correlate into me taking away from my family, which is not good in its own sense as well. So for me, I consistently have to be intentional about recalibrating. And that's making sure that, it sounds bad. Initially, it sounded bad to myself, is I put time on the calendar and then I try to stick to it as much as possible. But I want to make sure that I schedule time for me and my family to where I'm not just scheduling time for work and then leaving that family spot blank. I want to intentionally put it on my calendar that my wife sees. We share a calendar, that I'm taking this time for us. And when that's on the calendar, nothing else can interrupt that. Some things come up, and in this business, unfortunately, you have to take care of things. But I feel like agents, if they're not intentional about scheduling time, we're so good at it for work, but we're not good at it scheduling with family. Why not be good at it with both? We already scheduled tediously for work and the real estate career. Why not schedule as well for your own personal time and your family time? Me, I'm a bad example. I don't have a lot of hobbies for myself. I like to play golf, and usually when I do that, it's with Republic Title, my vendors, or getting to play in work. So that's a benefit that a lot of people in my career like to do what one of my hobbies is, which is golf. But other than that, my favorite thing to do is just go home and hang out with my family. I have a 3.5-year-old son. We have lots of animals. And so just being home, playing with my son, hanging out with my wife in the backyard, that is what refreshes me, because I'm always on the go. Just taking that time to do nothing is one of my favorite things. Other than that, really my big three are my family, my church time, and then really just sitting and relaxing and doing nothing. So I'm not a guy that has a ton of hobbies, and I should probably get some more, and I will one day, but I'm pretty simple when it comes to what makes me happy. And it's the things that I enjoy, and those are the things. So now I just have to be intentional about making sure I do those things, because I can very easily get worn down if I'm not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Ken.
I'm not great at it, at balancing. We always tell people, title is regulated, right? So we all have the same fees, and we basically do the same thing, and we're regulated by TDI. So the only thing that can separate us is the service that we provide, right? So, and in my role, service is accessibility. So I'm constantly, and my wife has accepted it because she's in the same industry. So she gets it. We work for the same company. She's also with Republic Title. So, I'll be texting early in the morning. I'll be taking texts late at night. That's just, again, it's a relationship, right? If it was transactional, I would wait until the next day. But if Travis texts me, or any one of my other agents text me, I would, because they probably have a question or they need something. So I try to respond. But with that being said, though, my wife and I, it's just the two of us. We've been married 30 years. Our time together, like that's what we enjoy each other. It's weird for married people, but we enjoy each other. We like our company. We like each other's company.
Schedule stuff on the calendar thing. We've
that's
never
great.
done that.
Yeah.
I would just have to get my husband to read the calendar. Yes.
Oh, there you go.
That's a great idea. Really.
It's one doesn't work for everybody, but I think it just
it
depends
sets
on
expectations
the
too.
type of person you are, what you follow. Me, I know if it's on the calendar, it's on the calendar. I can't really get around it.
And if you've been married 30 years, obviously you're doing something right. And she's doing something right.
Hey, you know what? I always tell people you have to decide to be married every day.
Yeah, true.
You just have to decide. Like there are days, we've had our moments, certainly. But at the end of the day, she's my person and I'm hers. Yeah. So that's, it's worked so far.
She's incredible.
Well, here's one more question before we wrap up. I know the importance of having success. There's so many books out about it. Your 5-minute miracle morning, or it's something like that. There's things that we do in our lives that set us up for success. Is there a habit that each one of you have that you implement every single day that's really important for you, whether that's on a personal level or a professional level?
Do you want to?
Mine's more on a personal level because I feel like my personal life affects my work life more. My work life affects my personal life more in a negative way if it's going wrong. But if I get my personal life right first, then usually my work life works better. So for me, I have a rule that I don't like to get out of bed until I've said my prayer. So I pray every morning. And then the next thing is I can't leave the house, or try not to, before my son's awake. I like to tell him bye. I like to make sure that my family, both my wife and my son, at least get to see me in the morning. Now, sometimes I'm out of the house and back before them, before they wake up. But I never like to go a full morning or day without seeing them, talking to them, having breakfast, giving them a kiss, saying hello. And that's hard sometimes because I do things very early in the morning sometimes that they're still sleeping, that it can cause tension within my business and personal life to where I choose intentionally to go back home rather than go to this mindset or Bible study, whatever, early in the morning, then straight to the office. And a lot of people do that. And I think everybody's choices are different in the way they handle them. But it's very important to me that if I do something very early in the morning, even if it causes a little bit of headache, I like to make sure that I can go back home first. And whether I get ready for work there, have breakfast again, just to be intentional about being around them in the morning before I go about my business day.
I love that.
Yeah, that's my main one.
Yeah.
How about you, Ken?
I always try to have some sort of quiet time in the morning and just practice gratitude, like reflect on the things that, bring me joy, that have gone well, successes. Again, I try really, really hard to be the optimist and the glass always half full. There are days that, I can't pull it off. But I try to do that. My father was that way. And when he passed 7 years ago, I was like, that's what I want to take and carry on from him. He was one of the kindest people that I've ever met. So, I just try to, quiet time, gratitude.
Me too. I asked you that question because somebody asked me that question one time. Very recently, I was sitting on a panel at a conference, and they asked me, obviously you're speaking and you're doing all these other things and full-time job and your own company. How do you take time for yourself and recharge? And I thought, man, that's such a great question. And I thought, there is a habit that I do every day, and I do, for the most part, have a quiet time every day. Sometimes I blow it and I don't. But my favorite thing to do is soak in the bathtub and think about nothing. And my husband doesn't understand that. And he comes in the bathroom and he goes, what are you thinking about? And I said, nothing. And he goes, how can you sit there and think about nothing?
I don't understand.
And I have my caffeine on the side of it because I can't even function for the first couple of hours that I'm awake. I'm not a morning person. I get up very early, but it does not mean I'm conscious.
Awake.
It doesn't mean I'm awake or conscious. So I have my little caffeine going in my bathtub thinking about nothing in my quiet time. And if I get into a routine, maybe a few days have been busy, a week has been busy, and I get out of the routine of not having my quiet time and my quiet space, I get punchy.
Yeah.
And I get mad at you people that cut me off in the traffic. And you would not think I'm a church girl, at that point. You would not. So anyway.
Makes a difference.
It does make a difference. So I just want to say thank you to both of you. Thank you for being amazing people.
Well, we appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you came on and you shared. There are so many entrepreneurs out there who are going to hear this podcast and they're going to learn from you. They're going to pick up things from you, whether that's about habits or being intentional about family or, what you do, coming to a place every day of gratitude, which is, oh my goodness, so important. We could spend the whole podcast episode really on mindset and positivity and how that really will just stomp out depression and negativity and anxiousness and all those things. So I just want to thank you for sharing your wisdom, both of you. And
Absolutely.
Thank you for saying yes and coming on and sharing with everybody else out there what you've done to be as successful as you have and just the little nuggets that you shared today.
Thank you so much.
Honored to be here. Thanks.
Yeah.
Signing off today, live at Studio USA, I'm Julie Altemus, and thank you for joining Real